and get vaccinated. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdheck.gov/vaxfax.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome into Sports Talk Media Network on a Labor Day Monday. Yes, we are here. You heard Korn mention that we would be last Friday, and indeed we are, to commiserate, celebrate, and look forward to the next weekend of college football with you over the next couple of hours. Hope you had a tremendous holiday weekend. My guess is portions of our audience had a much, much better weekend than other portions of the audience, but we're here for you up until 8 o'clock here this evening, and certainly want you on board as well on the Sports Talk Media Network here up until 8 o'clock. Busy show. We will look back at the weekend, South Carolina and Shane Beamer's debut going off pretty much without a hitch. Nice 46-0 victory over Eastern Illinois at the Williams-Brice Stadium. Of course, we will also delve into Clemson, Georgia, just a defensive slugfest, and how good did the Georgia Bulldogs, especially on the defensive front, look in that matchup. Not a single offensive touchdown scored in that game. And so the Tigers lose their season opener to Georgia by a score of 10-3. We will certainly get your thoughts on both of those ball games over the next couple of hours. If you'd like to join us on the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, that will be open for you up until 8 o'clock. We'll sprinkle in a few guests as we move through the next couple of hours. Chris Bergen, though, here in the PD in Florence on another hot, sticky Labor Day weekend. Had a tremendous time yesterday at Darlington. Was out there most of the day watching the Truck Series race, and also last night's Southern 500, the 72nd edition of the Southern 500, won by Denny Hamlin in a terrific battle with Kyle Larson. We will hear from Denny Hamlin a little bit later on in the program. His thoughts coming off that win, his first of the season. And if you are in the playoffs, and if you're a Hendrick driver, with the exception of Kyle Larson, you've got to be a little disappointed at your debut last night in the playoffs. But the one thing I would think that really has to concern you is Denny Hamlin was close all season long, but did not pick up a win. And now, lo and behold, first race of the playoffs, he gets a victory. And where does he go from here? And can he reel off several now in what he calls this first segment of the playoffs, his wheelhouse of racetracks? So we'll hear from Denny Hamlin, also set to join us around 7:30 tonight. We'll go 1st and 10 to kick off the week with Zach Willis. We'll wrap up the program with Mick Mixon, the voice of the Carolina Panthers, as we get ready for the opening weekend of the NFL season. Panthers taking on the New York Jets coming up on a Sunday. Chris Bergen, as I mentioned, here in Florence, back home at our studios in Columbia. We've got Pat Daniels taking care of us, and also Matt Smith back with us. Phil Kornblum out tonight and tomorrow night celebrating Rosh Hashanah. So we wish Phil and all of our Jewish friends and listeners a very happy New Year. So no Phil tonight, but Pat and Smitty, I think both of you guys are back in the studio now. Welcome. How was your weekend?
Hey, man, the weekend was good. It was just an exciting all-around great feeling to have football back. Now, yes, we probably have a lot of sad fans out there and a lot of happy fans. It was quite the first performance for Shane Beamer's Gamecocks. And Clemson, of course, maybe didn't open the way they wanted to, and that'll be a big topic of discussion. But overall, I'm just excited. And now, I don't know if you can see on camera, I'm wearing my Panthers jersey. I'm excited for the first week of now the NFL season's upon us with the opening game Thursday night, seeing the defending champ Bucks. I'm just excited. Had my fantasy football draft yesterday. It's that happy time of the year. And Smitty's here joining us now, too. Will be with us. Smitty, what about you, man? How was your weekend?
Better than the Clemson offense was. Better than Clemson fans probably feel about that. And, later, Chris, we're going to have we'll have a little clip from Tony Elliott as he kind of addressed any criticisms about the play calling. My quick take on that, and then we'll get yours, of course. And Phil was there. Phil out tonight, but he was there. I was in Columbia And, of course, you were on the sidelines for Coastal's drubbing of the Citadel. But my quick take on that was, number one, there is no play call if the offensive line refuses to block, if they're just that overmatched. However, I would say this. There is an old school element to football, and if there's two sides to shredded wheat, the plain side and the frosted side, the plain side, the old school side says, you know what? You do need a game plan just in case, where you bring in two tight ends or you play two backs. That is not what Clemson does. That is not where football is at the highest level collegiately right now. But I think Clemson does need to think, all right, next time, we got manhandled a little bit by Ohio State last year. We've seen it happen a couple of times on the big stage. It happened against Georgia. I think they do need a plan B in terms of what their offense needs to look like going into games like this. Their strength is not the offensive line, and it hasn't been. That's not how they've won games and gotten the 2 national championships. They are strong at the skill positions, and they are strong along the defensive line. But without an offensive line and without a plan B, you can't put those elements to work.
Perfectly sums up what I thought from the weekend. I have to admit, though, I was surprised at how much. And we talked about the Clemson offensive line being a sore spot going into the start of the season. And one thing about that, Smitty, is the fact that they were unsettled along that front line. They actually had to move Matt Bockhorst from guard over to center, and how big a transition would that be? And I think you saw some of the holes in that offensive line exposed by a really, really good Georgia defensive front. But if you're looking at it from an optimistic side of the coin as a Clemson fan, you've got to realize that's the best defensive front you're going to see the rest of the season. South Carolina's defensive line is pretty good. You'll see them at the end of the year. I don't think they're elite, though, anywhere close to the way Georgia's defensive front is. That front line just totally manhandled Clemson. It almost reminded me of a varsity team going up against a JV team, and just how much better they were against the Clemson offensive line than I thought they would be. And on the flip side, you can't be too disappointed with Clemson's defense because, heck, they didn't give up a touchdown. They played as well as Georgia's did. Georgia's defense just scored the game winner on the pick six. But I think overall, if you're looking at it from the Clemson side, the two concerns you have coming out of that, clearly the offensive line and also the lack of a running game. And part of that was Georgia's defensive front. But I'm not sure Clemson has even settled in at running back. And why the hesitation to run DJ Oyunlele on Saturday night, I didn't quite understand either.
Yeah, I think you have to kind of establish something for DJ to be able to run. We're going to see Clemson's offense improve. One thing I thought of over the weekend, and it would have helped Clemson more than most teams, but it would have helped a lot of teams across college football. I think we all love these kickoff classics and the fact that we start out with a bang, the Dukes Mayo Classic, and we've got Louisville and Ole Miss tonight. We had Alabama and Miami and Atlanta, LSU going out. We like those matchups. But I think if we're honest with ourselves, if we could step back and not be selfish, I think it is a little unfair because I don't think you saw I'd say no one but Alabama put their A game out there because it's week one. Mm-hmm. So I almost wish there were a mini preseason. We could have a kickoff weekend where everybody would get their kinks out and we could have that Now, look, I'm not saying Clemson would beat Georgia, but I'm saying I think they would look better. I think Georgia's offense would have looked better in week two. I think they'll progress. They always say the most improvement you make is between week one and week two. So I think some of these kinks, you mentioned DJ not running. I think some of that is because you don't know what you've got yet. This is the first time Clemson's been on that stage without Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne. So we can say, well, DJ started a game on the road at Notre Dame. That's true. But this is the first time in 4 years Clemson is going into action without Travis Etienne to stabilize the running game and without Trevor Lawrence, their leader. I think we'll see a much better Clemson offense as the season goes on. And that's not just because the schedule will soften. I just think some of the kinks will be worked out and they'll find out who they are.
I would agree. Pat, your take on what you saw from the Dogs and Tigers on Saturday?
Well, first off, to kind of expand upon what Smitty was just saying, he mentioned we saw DJ perform under the bright lights last year up in South Bend against Notre Dame. Played admirably. We all, I think, I think we viewed that the wrong way. I know that I'd never really considered this until after the game, or really the first half of the game, when just DJ didn't look comfortable. He looked nervous. I don't think we saw that last year, but we saw this across the country. We saw a lot of teams playing on the road this year with young players struggle. Last year and this year, noticeable difference between 20% capacity at that game at Notre Dame and 100% capacity in this game. So I don't think we really viewed correctly DJ. He had not played in an atmosphere like this ever. Last year, 20% up in Notre Dame is nothing compared to what he saw on Saturday. And they were having issues with the snap, and I know that's partly on the center as well. But DJ just did not look comfortable in that game really until the fourth quarter, when he finally started able to kind of develop some good drives. They just couldn't capitalize on it. But that stuck out to me. The second thing that really stuck out to me was, where was Lynn J. Dixon? I'd love some clarification on that. Was he not available in the first
suspended.
half?
Suspended.
So we do know that that's confirmed. Okay. Well, he had their longest rush of the night for 10 yards, and that was his only carry. I just thought he gave them a nice little burst of lightning when he finally got in the game, and then they never went back to him, and that confused me a little bit.
You know what, Chris? I want to say that I want you to hear your thoughts on that. I had a high school coach tell me, who's been watching Clemson football all this time, and he said, one thing he doesn't think Clemson does enough of is feed the running back position. I wonder how much of, you were trying to protect Travis Etienne a little bit, but you're also trying to protect Trevor Lawrence. You mentioned, why isn't DJ running? Well, Clemson a little bit light now, in a little bit unproven behind DJ. You don't want to get him banged up. You don't want to get him hurt. And they weren't able to run against Georgia. I don't think this offense is built to just turn around and hand the football to whomever, Pace, Shipley, Dixon, 25 times in a ball game. I just don't think that's right now. That's not Tony Elliott's MO. That's not what he's shown us, because they didn't do it with who would you feed? You would feed Travis Etienne. I don't believe Travis Etienne had 2 games of more than 20 carries last season. I'll check that stat, but I don't think so.
One more quick point there too, Smitty. You mentioned the backup situation. Did y'all happen to notice who came in the game when DJ had to sit out a play when his helmet came off? I believe it was in the second quarter. Did y'all notice who came in and played for him? It was Will Taylor. So it was not Tyson Pumachan, who we all believe is the backup quarterback. But I thought it was interesting that Will Taylor is the one who came in the game and took that one snap. Maybe that was just because he had his helmet on. He was able to just get in the game quicker. But that did at least get my attention a little bit on Saturday. Uh-oh, did we lose you, Chris? You still there with us, bud?
We did lose Chris. All right, well, that's okay. We'll take our first break of the evening here on Sports Talk. We invite you to join us, 888-898-2525. Of course, we got to start it off with the bad news, but we'll break down the good news as well. South Carolina's 46-0 victory over Eastern Illinois. I was there for that one. And Coastal Carolina defeating the Citadel. And, of course, we'll spin it ahead to next week. This is the Sports Talk Media Network.
Keep fighting the spread. Wear your face mask. Stay 6 feet apart. And get vaccinated. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdheck.gov/vaxfax.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
The future of golf is waiting for you at the Players Club. Rain, shine, or after dark, you can enjoy the game of golf anytime at Columbia's Indoor Country Club. The Players Club delivers the most realistic golf experience and offers more than 90 championship courses. Player practice with the same state-of-the-art full-swing simulators used by Tiger Woods and Jordan Spieth. Visit MainCourseSC.com to book a bay and become a player today at the Players Club, part of the Main Course, 1626 Main Street in Columbia.
Hey, folks, mortgage rates have dipped to their lowest levels in recent history, and with home values up in many areas, Now may be the perfect time to refinance your home. Whether you're looking to lower your monthly payments, free up cash for home improvements, or just pay off your home faster, a quick call to the one and only Stuart Wingo of Ameris Bank could save you money. If you're looking for competitive rates and exceptional service, call Stuart Wingo. 803-319-1777. That's 803-319-1777. You will save money just like I have so many times over the years. You can also visit him, amerisbank.com/Stuart Wingo. Stuart Wingo, the man with the plan for all your mortgage needs.
Back on Sports Talk Media Network on a Labor Day Monday night. I know you guys, being a part of this wonderful 2 hours we spend each evening, have worked on Labor Day. I have to admit, in my radio career, this is a first for me. I have not worked a Labor Day Monday night in my entire radio career, I don't believe, until tonight. So we've got to make it a good one, right?
That's right. It's going to be a good one, man. We got the three of us up here. Phil's enjoying a night off. I think it's going to be a good one.
So as Smitty pointed out, you can join us tonight on the South Carolina Education Lottery Lucky Number. I want to hear from you. We've got plenty of room for you the next little while. 888-898-2525. Again, 888-898-2525. And did you know that since 2002, more than $4.2 billion in lottery proceeds have been used to fund scholarships and grants for South Carolina students? Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/educationwins. And playing for fun is a win for education. We'll hear from Denny Hamlin, the winner. The Southern 500, his fourth victory at Darlington last night. Tremendous race between he and Kyle Larson. Also coming up on the show, we've got the recruiting report. We'll go around the horn. Zach Willis set to join us to kick off another week with First and 10. Also, we'll get Mick Mixon's take on the start of the NFL season. But, Smitty, since we spent the opening segment talking about the miseries that the Clemson Tigers dealt with regards to Georgia, on the flip side, you were there in Columbia on Saturday night. I don't know that the Shane Beamer era could have started off any better. Pitch a shutout, block a couple of kicks, you get a defensive score, and Zeb Nolan comes out and throws 4 touchdown passes for a guy that nobody knew who he was about 3 weeks ago.
Absolutely. And, Shane Beamer, I was on the conference call last night and listening to him, and I think his takeaways were very much what mine were, yours were, and most of the college football world, which was what a defensive performance. Clayton White, to me, very impressive. And look, we don't want to go back and relitigate the Will Muschamp era, but three things I think I would take away. Stark contrast between what we had seen in previous seasons and then what was on display in this opener. Obviously, we'll take level of competition into account here. Eastern Illinois is, not even going to make any noise at the FCS level. But Clayton White had his players motivated. Shane Beamer said last night on his conference call, he thought his team gave effort defensively every play, no loafs. So that was new. Anybody that's been watching South Carolina football the last couple of seasons, that's new. Also new, all the different elements offered by the offense. We heard over and over, almost every excuse. Anytime a Gamecock football reporter would press Will Muschamp on anything about the offense, there was always an excuse at the ready, out of a holster, about why they couldn't show all the different formations, why they couldn't implement the entire playbook. South Carolina didn't set the world on fire last night or Saturday offensively, but here's what they did do. They showed a lot of different looks. They threw it to the backs, and they had a quarterback who showed poise. I don't know why that's new at South Carolina, but all three of those things were brand spanking new. And the third thing I would say is just the overall energy of the team right out of the tunnel. Now, I know it's an opener, but that team was enthused throughout the night. That's why they won 46-0, because they very easily could have taken their foot off the gas. They didn't. Everybody that got snaps was playing with tremendous energy. And, the crowd, not the raucous 80-something thousand that we're used to in the heyday of Williams-Brice, 64,000. A lot of noise, a lot of happy fans. Those players created their own energy as well. So those, to me, those were three things that were brand new and all really points the arrow upward for Shane Beamer, because he has the attention of those players. That's with 5 players suspended, we should mention. 5 players suspended, and that team was cohesive, together, and energetic for 4 quarters. I think that's a great sign.
I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, but when I flipped on the game on Saturday night, I was fortunate enough to watch both Carolina and the Clemson game going on virtually at the same time. But when they were panned the stadium, I was shocked at how many empty seats were in at least the East upper deck. I mean, Gamecock fans, I understand the last couple of years for you have not been a whole lot of fun to go watch your football team, but with all the energy that Shane Beamer has brought to the table during the offseason, and you knew you were going to win, what were you waiting for to come watch your team play? You had to want to get that 2-8 taste out of your mouth. You lost 6 in a row coming into the game on Saturday. Smitty, I was stunned that was not a sellout, or at least a lot closer than, 16,000 shy of a sellout?
Yeah, and I saw David Cloninger reference this on Twitter, and he said, I hope I'm giving proper credit here, but David said, I'm not really going to comment here. I think this has something to do with the general malaise and kind of maybe a COVID hangover a little bit as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you, Chris. I was surprised, but you know what? Let's take a step back. Let's give it just a little bit more time. This is a fan base in South Carolina that was showing up for an 0-11 season.
No doubt.
Under Lou Holtz.
Doubt.
So I'm going to give all these fans the benefit of the doubt. I think maybe they were, they're putting their focus on a couple of weeks down the road, maybe a better looking home game. Or maybe many of them were planning a trip to East Carolina that they thought they would get kind of the gimme out of the way. And then they're going to make that trip along with Phil Kornblut to Greenville, North Carolina.
And speaking of that game, our Twitter poll question this week is a fascinating one for me. Phil and I were chatting about what to put up on the Twitter page for the poll question this week last night at Darlington. And our question at SportsTalkSC is, the Gamecocks somehow, I'm still trying to find a way to wrap my mind around this, but they are a 2-point underdog, at least as of the posting yesterday, for this week's game at ECU. So what will you do? Similar question that we had last week for Clemson and Georgia that ultimately turned out with Georgia pulling out the win on Twitter to follow suit with the win on the game. But do you take USC in the points or go with the ECU and lay the 2? And Smitty, what I'm trying to figure out, and we went round and round, you were in the mix yesterday. When I first saw the early line that came out had South Carolina as a 2-point favorite. Within an hour, it had shifted to East Carolina as the favorite. I'm trying to understand why. East Carolina is coming off a loss to Appalachian State. Good football team, no question. And App had 2 backs that rushed for over 100 yards apiece. You don't think South Carolina's stable of running backs can do the same against East Carolina? And what did the Gamecocks do on Saturday that made folks believe they can't go to East Carolina and win? And what did East Carolina show in a loss that proves to people that they can beat an SEC team? I was stunned at the quick shift in this line yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's one that we'll certainly have to keep an eye on. One lesson, we have to relearn our lessons every year. Or every college football season. One that I was reminded of is, defensive line play is so important. It's like great pitching in baseball or great post play in basketball. You can't really do anything if you have a really solid defensive line. I think that's where East Carolina is going to have trouble against South Carolina. I don't know what the total is, but I might consider looking at the under in this game, because when I look at what South Carolina brings to the table and where their strengths are, I think what will travel for them is that pass rush. I think that defensive line was impressive, and I think they're going to give East Carolina's front all sorts of issues. But on the flip side, South Carolina did not flash much explosiveness. There's still questions at the wide receiver position. They were utilizing the backs out of the backfield. Nick Muse was probably the top target for Zeb Nolan. So I think that in this game, I think we're about to embark upon a low-scoring game. I think South Carolina is going to be a little bit more conservative offensively. I think they'll play field position. So I think we're in store for a tight game between East Carolina and South Carolina, and I'll take a look at the under during the break.
SC StatCat tweeted out a few hours ago, Zeb Nolan's pass chart versus Eastern Illinois. And to follow up your point, Smitty, he only had one pass that was longer than 20 yards. And it was a slightly off-target dropped pass in that ballgame. All right, timeout. We come back. Your phone calls and plenty more to come on this Labor Day Monday here on Sports Talk.
Are you worn out from wall-to-wall political talk? Instead of hearing more about the stuff in Washington that's mostly out of your control, I'll give you the tools to actually take control of your money and your life. Dave Ramsey here. Join me right here on The Point. I'm live and taking your calls weekdays at 2 p.m. I'll teach you how to get on a written plan that actually works, get out of debt, and build wealth. Weekdays at 2 p.m. The Dave Ramsey Show at 100.7 The Point.
Now, who could that be?
It's Dominion Energy. I signed us up for a home energy checkup. It's time we learn how to save energy and money.
How much does it cost?
Not a dime. It's free, and it only takes about an hour. Plus, we get a report on things we can do to make our home more energy efficient.
I don't know. Sounds too good to be true.
No. See for yourself at DominionEnergySC.com.
Where?
DominionEnergySC.com.
Certain restrictions apply. With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The Taliban said Monday they seized the last province not in their control after their blitz through Afghanistan last month, overrunning forces who had opposed their takeover. Thousands of Taliban fighters charged into 8 districts of Panjshir province overnight, according to witnesses from the area, who spoke on condition of anonymity because they feared for their safety. Taliban spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid confirmed that the province, which is north of the capital, was now held by their fighters. We tried our best to solve the problem through negotiations, and they rejected talks, and then we had to send our forces in to fight, Mujahid told a news conference in Kabul later today. More details at srnnews.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington.
So your home is your castle. I work hard all day. My reward is time at my home with my family, living comfortably. I don't want to worry for a moment about bugs and pests. I've had Palmetto Exterminators taking care of my home for 19 years. Now, that's a long time without worrying about pest control or infestation or termites, and that's because Palmetto Exterminators takes care of it all. Might not matter to some people, but you know what it does to me? They're family-owned. They've been doing this the right way for over 60 years. The staff is courteous. They're clean. They're totally professional. And you know, it's termite season. Palmetto Exterminators offers a free inspection. They'll customize the program to fit your needs and your family's budget. They offer a lifetime warranty with their termite agreement. Now, I speak from experience. Like I said, 19 years with the same company. I can't give a more glowing recommendation than the one I proudly give to Palmetto Exterminators. Online, palmettoexterminators.net, or call my guy, Ron Byers, 254-5833. That's 254-5833, Palmetto Exterminators.
Every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on The Point, join me, Chad Jordan, and my co-host Larry Jordan for the Palmetto Real Estate Pros. We'll help you out whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just learn all things real estate every Friday right here at 100.7 The Point.
Looking for a great career path? Have you considered welding? At Midlands Tech, this path is more flexible than ever. With classes and a brand new facility, you can earn your MIG, TIG, or stick welding certificate in only 16 weeks. You can become a comprehensive welder in a year or less. Classes start every 8 weeks. Visit midlandstech.edu or call 732-0432. Tell them you heard it on The Point and get 10% off the cost of the program.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
When I suggest a local business, it's usually something you'll need if something goes wrong. What about when it's not a problem, but a reward? I'm talking about the team at Mint Landscapes. For me, it actually was a need and a reward. We had a big concrete slab. It was all cracked and nasty. Brandon from Mint Landscapes comes out, he puts down these incredible, beautiful pavers, and now what was an eyesore is an area I want to actually show off. Want some stunning hardscapes done at your home? Call Mint Landscapes, 629-2924, 629-2924.
Keep fighting the spread. Wear your face mask. Stay 6 feet apart. And get vaccinated. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdheck.gov/vaxfax.
Labor Day edition of Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Chris Bergen in Florence, Pat Daniel, and also Matt Smith back home in our studios in Columbia. You can be a part of the show as well on the Sports Talk SC Education Lottery lucky number at 888-898-2525. Again, 888-898-2525. First and 10 with Zach Willis in about an hour. Mick Mixon set to join us as well. Plus, we'll recap last night's terrific finish of the Southern 500 at Darlington. We'll hear from Denny Hamlin on the program here this evening. But Smitty wanted to run through some of the other scores, and then we'll hear from Tony Elliott off his press conference availability a bit earlier today. But the other state scores, and we'll get to the one that I'm sure jumped off the page at everybody in just a couple of moments. But I thought Furman and Wofford may have had the two best wins of the weekend here in our state. Furman beating North Carolina A&T, a team that's ranked inside the top 25 in FCS football, 29-18, and Wofford going to Elon. Now, Elon missed a field goal late, but for Wofford to win on the road 24-22 over Elon, I thought those two were big time wins for the Paladins and Terriers.
Agreed, and that's a conference victory for Wofford. So that was an important game to start off on the right foot there. And as far as Furman goes, I'm not surprised. I know North Carolina A&T is, as you said, a ranked club at the FCS level. I got to sit down with Clay Hendricks, and I know you have as well, and I got to sit down with him a couple of years ago. And I came away thinking, you know what? I think this guy's got a game plan. I just want to keep an eye on Furman. And to me, he's even exceeding even my expectations. They were also rededicating, some funds to the football program. Their facilities had slipped a little bit since they were one of the blue chip programs at the FCS level. And I just like Clay Hendricks. I like his club, and I'm not shocked at all that they went out there and handled their business. I think they're going to do it all season long. I think they're a playoff team.
Tough loss for Buddy Pugh's squad. They go on the road in a game they really needed to win. They lose at Alabama A&M 42-41. Newberry blew out Barton 31-7. North Greenville beat Limestone 37-16. In your backyard, where you guys are, Benedict and Allen getting a chance to play one another for the first time in forever. And it went the way of the Tigers. Benedict 45, Allen 12. Erskine lost to Catawba 37-27. And Pat, I know this one had to make you smile a little bit. Kevin Kelly's debut at Presbyterian, they hang 84 points on St. Andrews out of NAIA fame, 84-43. And PC quarterback and Michigan transfer Ren Heffley throws 10 touchdown passes, an FCS record, and no surprise, he is the National FCS Player of the Week.
Yeah, that absolutely just made me smile. Just, I've said it before, and I said it to him off air when we had him on the show a few weeks ago. This is for anybody out there that grew up playing video games, grew up playing whether it's NCAA football or Madden, whichever one you prefer. You always go for it on fourth. You don't punt. You always go for it. You go for two. But that's video game. That's not real. But in the back of my mind, I always have wanted to see or hoped to eventually see this happen in real life, just to see if it works. We don't know if it will or not. But for PC to be able to do what they're doing, I know it's just one game. But even just for that one game, golly, was that fun to watch. And I hope it continues.
Smitty, again, I'm going to be the wet blanket here because I thought it was a little tacky. The 10th touchdown pass that Ren Heffley threw was in the fourth quarter.
First off, what are you doing with your starter in a game against an NAIA program as a Division I school, albeit non-scholarship, but still a D1 school? What in the world are you doing with your starter in there throwing the football in the fourth quarter in a game that was already way out of hand?
All right. I'll push back only slightly on this because, Chris, I am like you. I'm an advocate for the most. I like to see in college a lot of players play, a lot of guys get their burn. And also, sportsmanship and preventing injury, all the reasons for taking guys off the field. I will only say this. It got Presbyterian College on ESPN.com.
No question. And on ESPN, because they led off college football, whatever that show is after the game, college football final. First highlights they show are Ren Heffley and PC.
I just would say, I know who Alcorn State is because Steve McNair played there, and was doing things like this. So I would only say I think they're fighting for ink. They're fighting for notoriety. And that's probably, what led to this. But for the most part, I agree with you, and maybe they won't do it again. But they certainly got news made, and Pat said it. He's going to follow them. He's going to watch them. He wasn't going to do that otherwise. If they just hang a 50 burger on them, he's not going to do that. But 10 touchdowns, that catches everybody's attention.
Absolutely. And also just a slight correction. Yes, Ren Heffley did throw a touchdown in the fourth quarter, but it was the opening play of the fourth quarter. It happened with 14 minutes and 55 seconds remaining, and the other team was still within striking distance. St. Andrews was. They were up 24 at the time. I know that might seem a little far-fetched.
Oh, no, okay.
But
yeah, 24. Hey, after what I saw, if Brian Kelly were coaching the team, you could catch him.
You never know.
You could catch him.
Yeah, and then Tyler Huff came in after that. But they did keep throwing the ball, but it was their backups for the fourth quarter.
I'll give you that if we're comparing apples to apples. If this is a Pioneer Football League team going up against PC, 24 points with 15 minutes to go, all right, fair enough. This was an NAIA program. No, the difference in levels, you have to go from Division I to Division II to Division III, and then you get to NAIA. There's no reason that Ren Heffley should have had an opportunity to throw 10 touchdown passes, but I think both of you bring up excellent points. But Smitty, I think the reason you pointed out is the only valid excuse you can give for this is because you wanted to put your name on the map, and they certainly did with 84 points and one quarterback throwing 10 touchdown passes.
I'm in favor, and this is a different show because tonight we need to focus on, Clemson's play calling and South Carolina's defense and Coastal Carolina being ranked and all those things. But you just mentioned that, this was against a NAIA opponent. One of the things I'm in favor of, we've got to stop this. I don't know why you would play two levels different. And honestly, except for the fact that some of these FCS programs like Montana are beating Washington, I would say I'd get rid of those games as well. But teams like that, Eastern Washington and Montana, just won't give it up. They just go out and win those games. So I'd like to see them maybe move up like App State and Coastal Carolina did eventually. But yeah, I hear you, Chris. I hear you. And I know you used to work with Presbyterian College. So you have a lot of friends there. And I know that when you criticize them, you feel like you're a little bit like you're criticizing your own family. It's not out of malice. That's an important program to you. And it's one that here in the state that's important. But let's see where this goes. That's all I would say. Let's see where it goes. Hopefully PC can go out and make some more headlines, but they can do it, as you said, against some Pioneer League competition.
I just think it's funny. You have a guy now, he walked on, if I'm not mistaken, but he did walk on the team at Michigan and transferred into PC. So you have a guy who was playing for a Power 5 program in the Big Ten, one of the marquee names of all of college athletics, throwing 10 touchdown passes against an NAIA school. That I have a hard time balancing that. But anyway, that's what occurred. And as Pat pointed out, it got them eyeballs. There's no question it got them eyeballs, and there will be people watching to see what PC can do. Because anytime you hang 84 points in a football game, somebody's going to tune in next week. All right, you can dial us up here this evening on the SportsTalkSC Education Lottery lucky number at 888-898-2525. Of course, the other three FBS programs played over the weekend, also on Thursday. Coastal winning against the Citadel 52-14. South Carolina with its shutout of Eastern Illinois 46-0, and Georgia beating Clemson 10-3. It was the first time that the Tigers had been shut out in an opening half since 2010 against North Carolina State. And today, Smitty, as you might well imagine, Tony Elliott caught the brunt of some of the ire of Clemson fans about what in the world happened offensively. Here's what he had to say in his press availability earlier this morning up at Clemson about some of the negative pub he has gotten over the last 48 hours or so.
It's tough because we get embarrassed on national TV. I know I've already got the Twitter fingers sending me hate mail, telling me that I suck and, I need to be fired. I need to go back to Michelin and, things of that nature. And, it hurts. And it hurts for a couple of reasons, right? It hurts because I know how much work this offensive staff and these players have put in. I know how committed they are to this program, right? And nobody wants to go out, on national TV and not play their best, right? So that's where it hurts. And then I know the fans are passionate. Right, I understand, how passionate our fans are and what the expectation is here, and so then it hurts. I hurt for them because they're upset, right, that we didn't perform well because I know what it means to them. So yes, there's a feeling of hurt, but we can't wallow in our pity, right? We got to change our perspective and we got to draw on, what only thing we can is how do we respond? And these guys are going to respond, and I'm excited to see the growth that's going to take place. You got a football team that cares. They care, man. They did what Coach asked them to do to a certain extent, man. They came out, they played hard, they played physical. I didn't feel like we physically just got outmatched. Now, we got beat, with some one-on-ones, but you're talking about NFL players going against NFL players. You're going to lose some one-on-one matchups. The biggest thing we got to do, as an offense is just focusing on the details, the little things and everybody being on the same page. Because that's the thing about offensive football. It's chemistry, it's cohesion, it's all 11 on the same page. And we were off Saturday night, but we got a good group of young men. We're going to accept the challenge, and I'm excited to see where this group is gonna finish up. I don't go to Twitter, but then it comes I gotta do it for recruiting, right? So I get a notification, and I go to notification, and then it's go back to Michelin, or somebody sends me a direct message on Instagram because I don't know if it's a recruit, a family member, something, and I open it up, and but I understand their frustration, and the only thing I can express to them and anybody out there about this group of young men is that, man, they work their tails off. They take pride in what they do. They're not perfect. We obviously didn't intend to not have our best and be off a rhythm and out of sync, but they're going to work, right? They're going to grind, and it's going to be exciting to see how they grow together, down the stretch.
This is Tony Elliott from a bit earlier today, Clemson's offensive coordinator. And Pat, I thought he handled that very well. And you can understand that he's not that team has got to be frustrated going 60 minutes and being unable to put the football in the end zone. But they're not sitting on their laurels, if you will. They've already decided they're going to make a few changes on the offensive side of the ball for the South Carolina State game this weekend.
That's right. And you're exactly right. They're already making some changes along the offensive line as well as in the backfield. We now see Lynn J. Dixon listed as the starter with Kobe Pace, so kind of a dual tandem there with Shipley coming in as a reserve. They're shaking up the offensive line. Help me out here. I believe Bockhorst is confirmed the center now, but
correct.
Was it the left guard that they were mixing up?
Yes. Marcus Tate is now the starter at left guard. Jordan McFadden still at left tackle. Will Putnam will be the right guard, and Walker Parks will be the right tackle.
That's right. Thank you. And look, Tony Elliott, yes, were there some things that he would like to change? Of course. But I think right now he did handle that as well as he could have. And this is going to separate a lot of the kind of bandwagon Clemson fans. I think a lot of people right now, I saw ESPN had an article come out today where they're saying, is this the end of Clemson football? Is this when they fall? And he and Dabo Swinney and the other Invendables have to keep that locker room, have to keep them all supporting each other and positive because they still have a long season ahead of them. But also, this might be the first time we see Tony Elliott and Dabo Swinney keep the starters on the field all 4 quarters. Because if they want to have a chance at sniffing out the playoffs, first of all, they have to run the table. Second of all, they can't have any close games. They need to be beating teams by 20, 30 points. We saw this weekend the ACC is not good this year once again. And they're going to have to really lay the hammer on some of these teams if they want to make the postseason.
I don't want to let this particular point go. Usually what we do on this program, and we're going to do this in hour number 2, we consult those that have either played the game at a high level or coached the game at a high level. And we have Zach Willis with us later on tonight where he will break it down from an X and O perspective. But I don't even need to ask Zach this question. Does anybody think the running back position was the problem? Does anybody think that even had Walter Payton walked out there, that those numbers would have been any different? Much is made of the fact that Lynn J. Dixon got the 1 carry for 10 yards, and that was nice. But he was going to get a dose of what Kobe Pace and Will Shipley were getting if he would have remained, in the ball game, and Clemson could have tried to run the football with him as well. That is, and that's nothing against Lynn J. That is just where Clemson was. And we say this all the time about Clemson, what they do to their ACC competition. Those games are not won and lost on Saturday. So I want to make this point for Tony Elliott. That game was not lost on Saturday. That game was lost on signing day. They are not signing and developing elite offensive line talent. That's just not what Clemson does. That's not who they are. There is no play. So if you want to get on Tony Elliott, don't go back and break down what he did on Saturday. Break down what Clemson is doing schematically overall and who they are as a program, because there was no answer with their personnel on the offensive line. There were 0 answers on Saturday. That was way too late to be worried about what play call was coming. That game was lost because Georgia had defensive linemen that should be playing in the NFL decided to come back for one more year, and they manhandled Clemson's offensive line. There is no play call for that.
No gold stars for the Clemson offense, but 2 players that did, I think, have pretty good games. Joseph Ngata, first off, and I'm not joking when I say this, Will Spires, the punter, was actually a difference maker for the Clemson offense. He pinned Georgia 3 times inside the 20, so that defense could get the ball back. It just never worked out against that just incredibly stout Georgia defensive line. All right, quick timeout. We'll come back, a little recruiting as we head towards the top of the hour here on Labor Day. Sports Talk.
Every day, you make choices that protect your family. At Farm Bureau Insurance, we're here to help make some of those choices easier. Your local Farm Bureau insurance agent is on hand to provide the reassurance and protection you need. Call today for your free no-obligation review for auto, home, and life insurance that's custom-tailored just for you.
Call Buddy Bridges in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174, covering Lawrence, Clinton, Joanna, and the shores of Lake Greenwood.
South Carolina Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, Southern Farm Bureau Casualty Insurance Company, Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi.
The Southeastern Institute of Manufacturing and Technology, known as SIMT, is ready to meet your 3D printing, machining, and social media listening needs. Our list of clients includes business and industrial partners from around the state, the nation, and the globe. In addition, we are providing social media listening services to a variety of businesses and educational institutions, from large companies to law firms to small rural school districts. The SIMT also rents space for training, conferences, and trade shows. Catering services are available for events being held at the SIMT. We are dedicated to customer service and look forward to serving you. Check us out on the web at simt.com to see a full list of our manufacturing services, or give us a call at 843-413-2740.
Founders is offering a low-rate mortgage with up to $4,000 in closing costs to full-time hospital employees, honoring your frontline efforts against COVID-19. With no PMI, no origination fee, and no limit on the loan amount, you can't go wrong. Visit founders.com/HEC and apply for your hospital employee choice mortgage today. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply. Institution NMLS identifier number 410646. Founders is an equal housing lender and is federally insured by the NCUA.
We've got Major Billy Downer with us here from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Hunting season is upon us. Major Downer, how do we stay safe?
Smitty, that's a great question. Mistaken for game is a leading cause of hunting accidents each year. So this year, DNR is encouraging everyone to wear hunter orange and use a flashlight when traveling to and from your hunting location in low light. Remember, be safe, be seen.
And remember, life's better outdoors. Visit dnr.sc.gov for more.
We roll on the Sports Talk Media Network, Labor Day edition of Sports Talk. Chris Bergen along with Pat Daniel and Matt Smith. You're welcome to be a part of the program. Love to get your take on what we've discussed to this point on the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number at 888-898-2525. Time now, though, to get you the recruiting reports brought to you by our good friends at Seawells, serving the Columbia area with excellent food and service for over 70 years. You drop by and enjoy their all-you-can-eat luncheon buffet from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. at 1125 Rosewood Drive, or you can visit their website at SeawellsCateringSC.com to check out their menu options, or give them a call at 803-771-7385. Again, Seawells, the place to go at lunchtime. As Phil has told us, defensive end Brian Thomas Jr. of Winter Garden, Florida, wrapped up his official visit to USC a bit earlier today and flew back home with his family. He will not make a decision today as he had planned, and that's because his visit with USC went so well. He had narrowed his choices to the Gamecocks in West Virginia. He visited the Mountaineers back in June and believed nothing could top that experience, so he was leaning that way before his trip to Columbia, saying, quote, "At first, I was like, nothing could be better than West Virginia. That visit was amazing," Thomas said moments after deplaning down in Miami. Now they are like even, right next to each other. Now my decision is really hard. As for a decision timeline, Thomas said Monday night he's not sure. A decision could come as early as Tuesday, or it could be later in the week before one is made. Again, defensive end Brian Thomas out of Winter Garden, Florida. Linebacker Deuce Spurlock of Madison, Alabama, was in the crowd Saturday night for the USC victory over Eastern Illinois. That was the highlight of a 3-day stay for him, his mother and sister, who drove in Friday night after his game. Spurlock was offered by the Gamecocks this summer, and this weekend was his first chance to see the program up close. Gamecock linebackers coach Clayton White is handling his recruiting and has made Spurlock feel wanted, saying, quote, "They definitely want me. That's how it's kind of going right now. We're just talking and seeing how everything fills out. Most definitely building a relationship with them. They are definitely near the top because of how they presented everything, how they brought up everything. The national environment of the game, being able to watch the game and being able to experience the type of football fans that they have, that definitely put them pretty high up," Spurlock said. He wants to schedule a return trip to USC for an official visit. He has not set any official or any other visits for the fall. He said USC, Michigan, Pittsburgh, and Mississippi State continue to recruit him the hardest. He's also drawn some interest from Clemson, which he visited in July. Spurlock says he does not have a time frame for making his decision. Linebacker Stone Blanton is on the fast track to a commitment decision, and USC is very much in the hunt for him, along with Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Texas A&M on his short list. Blanton took his official visit with the Gamecocks the weekend of June 11th. He returned this past weekend with his mother for an official visit, flying in on Saturday morning after his game in Arkansas. Blanton focused on the Gamecocks linebacker play during the win over Eastern Illinois, a game in which the defense pitched a shutout for the first time since a 34-0 win over NC State to open the 2008 season, saying, "I loved it." He sent them after the quarterback a good bit and blitzed them. They attacked the run really well. I was a huge fan of how he used them. And the stands with the they had used him and got after the quarterback and were able to attack the run. Now Blanton was impressed by the atmosphere he witnessed around the players and staff and in the stands with the fans. Blanton will take 2 more official visits this month before his decision. He's going to Ole Miss September the 18th. And then to Mississippi State, September the 25th. He visited Texas A&M unofficially in early June. Blanton is coming off labrum surgery and has played in 2 full games this season, totaling 24 tackles. Defensive tackle Demetrius Watson of Fort Dorchester said he did not make it to the USC game Saturday, but he hopes to be in town for the Kentucky game or another home game soon. USC remains the focus for him. Defensive line coach Jimmy Lindsey was at his game on Friday. Running back Jordan McDonald of Alpharetta, Georgia, announced a top 2 Sunday night of USC and also Central Florida. USC has offered 2023 wide receiver Trey Tolliver of Lake City, Florida. He was in for the game on Saturday. He also has offers from Arizona, Cincinnati, South Florida, UCF, and also Campbell. Clemson offered 2023 offensive tackle Josh Miller of Colonial Heights, Virginia. In his tweet announcing the offer, Miller called Clemson his dream school. He also has a USC offer along with others from Maryland, Pitt, Penn State, Texas A&M, Virginia Tech, Nebraska, West Virginia, Boston College, Florida State, Kentucky, and Michigan State. 2023 offensive tackle Marquis Anderson of Dorman was also at the USC game on Saturday. And Clemson offered 2023 defensive tackle Luke Montgomery of Findlay, Ohio. He's rated a 4-star and ranked the number 13 defensive lineman nationally in his class. USC also has offered, along with Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn, Oregon, Illinois, Miami, Oklahoma, and Georgia Tech this summer. He visited Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Alabama. And let's see what else. I've got another page worth of stuff, so I don't know that I can get it all in here in the next 20 seconds. Quickly, 2023 running back Ja'Shawn Anderson of Hartsville was offered by Kentucky. He also has an offer from Wofford, and that is our recruiting. You can also check it out up on our website at SportsTalkSC.com, presented by Seawells.
Weekdays from 7 to 9 on The Point. It's Kev and Brian in the morning. The news, the traffic 4 times an hour, and your daily forecast. Topics to wake you up, topics to make you smile and laugh. Hope you'll join us.
The Point. The Point. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. The president delivers sandwiches to union members on Labor Day. We hear more from correspondent Mike Gracia reporting.
President Joe Biden marks Labor Day 2021.
IBEW is keeping this country moving. It really is.
The president delivered deli sandwiches to union members at an event held by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 313 in Newcastle, Delaware. The president shook hands and at one point talked into a phone to a union member's mother.
How you doing? Your son, I'm doing better.
But Labor Day marked the end of $300 weekly supplemental unemployment benefit checks implemented due to the coronavirus pandemic. An estimated 8.9 million Americans are losing some or all of the benefits. Mike Gracia, Washington.
Another view of labor comes from the Heritage Foundation's Rachel Gressler, who says employers are wary of efforts to strengthen unionization efforts on Capitol Hill.
Ultimately, that's bad for employees and employers. So I'd say there are kind of some headwinds out there, especially depending on what comes from Congress in terms of labor laws that could potentially turn the tide here.
Meanwhile, Gressler says on this Labor Day, employees are benefiting from a surprisingly strong economy, low unemployment, a record number of available jobs, and wage gains. Thousands of people who fled South Lake Tahoe under threat of a wildfire were allowed to return as crews stalled the flames from advancing. But many shops remain dark today, and the resort town's normally bustling streets remain quiet. A week ago, the scenic tourist town on the California-Nevada state line emptied out when authorities issued an evacuation order as the fire approached from the south. Now traffic is trickling back, but nothing like the crowds that typically pour in over the summer to enjoy Lake Tahoe's crystalline waters. No Wall Street numbers today because of Labor Day. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Tell me why Relief Factor is so successful in lowering or eliminating pain. I'm often asked that question. Pete and Seth Talbot, the father and son founders of Relief Factor, tell me they believe our bodies were designed to heal. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, 100% drug-free ingredients that each help your body deal with inflammation. Order the 3-week quick start now. Discount it to only $19.95 to see if it will work for you too. Call 800-500-8384. ReliefFactor.com.
With a Democratic sweep officially in place, we are now at the mercy of tax and spend economics. Get ready for runaway national debt pushing the further devaluation of the dollar. So if you haven't invested in gold, now is the time to protect your savings. Birch Gold Group is the premier precious metals IRA company in America. With an A+ BBB rating and thousands of satisfied customers, Birch Gold can help you move an eligible IRA or 401k into an IRA backed by gold. Go to birchgold.com/radio for your free information kit. That's birchgold.com/radio.
As the 20th anniversary of September 11th, 2001 approaches, the worst terror attack on American soil led to security measures and other changes, large and small, that have reshaped the airline industry and made air travel more stressful than ever. Aviation security expert Jeff Price says the creation of the Transportation Security Administration made tremendous change and reshaped the airline industry.
The tremendous change was really the creation of the Transportation Security Administration. That was not a thing prior to 9/11. And with that creation, they took over screening at airports from the airline contractors.
Administrator David Pekoski says safeguards are in place to protect personally identifiable information.
Cybersecurity is critically important.
and there are contract provisions to make sure that the vendors provide adequate cybersecurity and adequate protection for PII data.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Some overnight clouds, humid with a low dropping to 68 degrees. For tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds, about a 30% chance of some afternoon showers, a high of 90. Now for Wednesday, it's our best chance of rain, a high of 89, more humidity for you too. Enjoy your cookout today. It's back to work tomorrow. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
The Dennis Prager Show weekdays at noon right here on The Point. Take time for a visit to PragerU. We'll tackle today's issues, interview intriguing newsmakers, do some teaching and some learning together on 100.7 The Point and MakeThePointRadio.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Back we are, Sports Talk Media Network, live on a Labor Day night. Chris Bergen here in Florence, Pat Daniel and Matt Smith taking care of business with us back home in Columbia. Want you on board as well. We'll get to your phone calls coming up in just a couple of moments on the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number at 888-898-2525. And again, Phil Kornblut out tonight and tomorrow celebrating the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah. So Happy New Year to the Corn and all of our Jewish friends and listeners as well. Hope you have a wonderful holiday. Quick note before we get off to the phones, guys, you may have seen this over the weekend that Connecticut head football coach Randy Edsall announced he was retiring at the end of the season, fresh off a loss to Holy Cross. I don't know if the two are mutually exclusive or not, but ESPN.com reporting just within the last 30 minutes that he has decided now he's stepping down immediately. On Monday, the school announced the change of plans, saying that Edsall and Director of Athletics David Benedict have come to a, quote, mutual decision that is in the best interest of UConn football for Edsall to step aside immediately. The announcement comes after Sunday's statement that he would retire at the conclusion of the season. Defensive coordinator Lou Spanos will serve as interim head coach for the Huskies for the remainder of the season. Upon further reflection by both Randy and I, and after having the opportunity to visit with Randy today, we are both in agreement that it is in the best interests of our student athletes to have a new voice leading UConn football. Smitty, this sounds like Edsall wanted to get out in front of the loss to Holy Cross and preserve his job to the end of the year by announcing, I'll retire at the end of the season. And the AD said, no. You've got two options. We're going to fire you now or you step down now.
And, of course, UConn football had its greatest success under Randy Edsall the first time around, but sometimes you can't go home again. It's worked for a couple of coaches, Mack Brennan at North Carolina this week notwithstanding, Bill Snyder at Kansas State and a couple of others, but not for Randy Edsall. I didn't realize that Holy Cross UConn matchup must have been a loser leaves town match. There was a stipulation. So unless he comes back and coaches under a mask as the Midnight Rider, sayonara.
And so that I'm sure will be a lot of fun. The one thing he gets out of is a November trip to Clemson on November the 13th, so he doesn't have to deal with that. So there's always the silver lining here. But, yeah, just the timing of all of this is way too suspect for me to believe that the UConn athletics director said, you know what, we're going in the wrong direction. We're 0-2, lost to Fresno, and then an FCS program at Holy Cross. We can't go any further with this guy. We've got to move on.
Yeah, that is the signal we're getting, and I don't know. Connecticut, they do not truly commit to football. Most of the programs we see have success, and this is for all levels, by the way. This is FCS level, NAIA, all the way up to the elite in college football. It's all about commitment. What kind of support are you going to give the team? And I'm not just talking about fans. I'm talking about everything, from the administration on down and the boosters, of course, and what kind of facilities you can provide. And just, are you committed to winning football games? Is that a priority? And it really isn't at UConn. I think they call it lightning in a bottle with Edsel the first time around, and honestly, they've had nothing to speak of. They had Skip Holtz have some success there, these many years ago. I guess that's about 30 years ago now. But I don't think that UConn is truly committed to winning football. We'll see where it goes from here. But Randy Edsel, he's won some games, and Gamecock fans will remember. I know everybody twitches when you say this. He beat South Carolina in a bowl game.
Yes, he did. Was that the Papa John's Bowl that no one wants to remember?
That was the Papa John's Bowl, and they ran out of pizza.
And it was frozen, from what I understand,
Yes.
the pizza they tried to serve.
Yes.
Pat, what you got?
Oh, just a note that I'm a little surprised we forgot to mention until now, but Clemson reserve wide receiver E.J. Williams will miss 4 or 5 games after undergoing surgery on his thumb.
And you know what?
He was injured Saturday against Georgia.
You know what, Chris? We should have talked about the receiver position. The Clemson had so many problems offensively. It's taken us a while to get around the horn to everybody. But I just wonder, as you watch Clemson's, obviously, I always want to put this caveat. We're not going to have any discussion about Clemson football for the next 2 weeks until they take that trip to NC State, because they're going to look great over the next 2 weeks, in my mind, against South Carolina State and Georgia Tech. But, I wonder, did Clemson make a mistake by moving Justin Ross inside? Ngata looked great. You said that, Chris. Ngata looked terrific. But maybe that's a position of priority when Tony Elliott's drawing up plays, because Ngata got a lot of looks. Justin Ross did not. And the idea behind moving Ross, there to the slot is, the big body, this will be different. But maybe, just maybe, the way Clemson's offense is designed, they're better off with the little scat back style slot receiver, and Ross is better on 50-50 balls down the sideline, because you really didn't see many of those either. And that was Ross's strength, as a freshman before the injury. So I'm just wondering if Clemson may not have made a misstep here. In other words, did you get worse at 2 positions? Did you get worse at outside by moving Ross inside, and are you worse off with Ross inside than outside?
That's a great point, Smitty. Sorry to jump in on you there, Chris. Now, let's think back. Justin Ross, if you had to say one game or a couple of catches with Justin Ross.
Bama.
Exactly.
Bama.
His freshman year. And those were both on the outside. They were 50-50 balls. It seems almost that's his strength. He excels there. But maybe he'll get it going in the inside as well. But you might be right there, Smitty.
And did they make that decision in Justin Ross's best interest, maybe not the team, because that may be where he plays in the NFL?
Could be. And again, look, we don't want to extrapolate too much from one game, especially against an elite defensive team. If Georgia's not the best defensive team in the country, they're number 2. So Clemson's going to get a lot better, and they're going to spread their wings. DJ's going to look better. Ross and Ngata are going to catch 3 touchdowns apiece over the next 2 weeks. So this won't be a discussion point. But I think what Clemson fans probably want to break down is what happens the next time around. You go back. A lot of this was covered up 2 seasons ago. Clemson beat Ohio State, but they were outgained by 100 yards. You could go back and break down that film and find some problems. Then they were blown out by LSU. Then last year they were handled by Ohio State. And then on Saturday night, it didn't look good offensively against Georgia. There are things you can point to and pull out of Clemson who they are schematically and right down to their DNA as an offensive football team. There have been problems. They're usually covered up by talent, but there have been problems. And that's why this is a discussion, because it's not about how Clemson's going to look in 2 weeks against Georgia Tech. Ross will be fine. Ngata will be fine. E.J. Williams is out. That's okay. Frank Ladson will catch 10 balls. They'll be fine. But what happens the next time you face a team like Georgia? What happens when you play Alabama, if you do, in the college football playoff? What if you run into a Texas A&M in the college football playoff? What if you play Ohio State again? Who are you? Who are you at your core in these games? And that's what Clemson's got to answer looking in the mirror right now.
All right. Labor Day Monday here on Sports Talk. We'll catch up with Zach Willis and pose some of those questions to him as we go 1st and 10 to kick off this brand new week. But let's get off to the phones. Check in with you for the first time on this Labor Day evening on the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number at 888-898-2525. And we go to Bruce in Columbia. Bruce, you're up first here on Sports Talk. Good evening.
Well, thank you guys for letting me into the conversation.
Yes, sir.
Great. to be on with you, and just kind of give up the kudos to Carolina winning their first game. I know it was a good out for them. They needed that. Getting back to Clemson, I'm a Clemson fan, and I've watched Clemson for basically all my life. And their first game is the worst game in the world as they play every year. It's just a total sham. But getting back to the way they're practicing football these days, the guys are not cracking like they used to, and get used to cracking and get cracked in shape. I mean, you got to hit somebody all week long before you play the game to get in that shape. I don't care. You can't be running around catching balls with nobody hitting you and get in shape with that. And I think that's a big problem with the football system today. They don't know how to tackle. They do not know how to tackle. They body block them to bring them down, and the guy rolls 10 yards down the field with the ball in his hand. I mean, this is really not football. it's really a sham football, mentality out there. And but you'll watch Clemson. They played, one of the toughest defense and offense in the country, and they'll be back up there. I don't have a problem with their performance tonight. I don't think any other team could go against Georgia on their first game of the season and score 30 points. They couldn't do it. So, I mean, Clemson's got a lot of things to work out, and so does Georgia. And but they'll work it out. I don't have a problem with what they did last Saturday night.
Bruce, we appreciate the phone call. Happy Labor Day, and yes, sir. Thank you. And Smitty, I don't know that Clemson tackling was a big problem for them. I thought the defense for Clemson was not the issue on Saturday, nor was the Georgia defense, clearly, because both of those teams pitched to shutouts, with the exception of the 2 field goals, but no offensive touchdowns. I get Bruce's take. A lot of that is from the NCAA's perspective, because coaches aren't allowed to practice as long during the week. But I don't think tackling for Clemson nor Georgia was a big-time issue on Saturday.
No, they were both elite defensively. And this question actually came up in Shane Beamer's conference call last night, because South Carolina had an outstanding night tackling against Eastern Illinois. And the question was posed to him, how did Clayton White get these guys ready? What does it look like these days? And Shane Beamer mentioned they were concerned about tackling going in. He was pleasantly surprised at how well they tackled, because he said they only had 2 full contact practices. And I don't know whether he meant the week of, or he meant, all of fall camp, because as you mentioned, players are so protected now. And the reason that is what, look how many players are also missing games. It's a violent sport. It's a collision sport. And you want to keep these guys as healthy as you possibly can. And a lot of big names were missing across college football because they're still not, quite healthy from things that they suffered either last season or in fall camp. But to your overall point, defense was not an issue for Clemson at all. And I didn't think we thought it would be. The only thing I'm concerned about for Clemson's defense, and it's something Dabo Swinney has addressed here, because they are going to start Makumba at safety, I believe, and Landon Zanders is injured, if I've got the story correct, and so Zanders is going to come out. The only concern I've got for Clemson's defense long term, another game like this high profile, is will the safeties hold up? Because they did not hold up last season against Ohio State, and 2 seasons ago, different cast, they didn't hold up on the deep ball against LSU either. And a lot of that was cornerback play as well. But I mean safeties specifically, because Brent Venables favors those safeties like Nolan Turner that can come up and stick you, guys that patrol out there and make big-time hits. But when you play an offense that can stretch the field, what happens with those safeties when they're isolated against a speedy receiver in the slot? So that would be my concern for the future for Clemson. I think it's something they're probably addressing now with Makuba early on.
All right, let's stay on the phones. Let's check in with Ray in Columbia. Ray, you're up next here on Sports Talk. Happy Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day, gentlemen. I tell you one thing. When you were talking about Birmingham and the Papa John's Bowl a while ago, man, I'm going to tell you, I have been to Chicago. I've been to Minneapolis. That's the coldest I've ever been in my life. that wind chill was like 10 degrees. I mean, and our football player was about as cold as the weather. I mean, it was just, it was so cold. But anyway, as you can tell, I'm a Gamecock fan. And anyway, so I was very excited with the game. I know the opponent wasn't, they weren't the Georgia Bulldogs, that's for sure. But there's some things you can tell even when these so-called scrimmage games, it's a real game. And I can tell you guys right now, Jordan Burch is for real. I mean, that play, he made that interception, and he just outran everybody, for 65 yards. That was a heck of a play. And I think Zeb Nolan, I don't think he's going to say, well, Doty, here's the job. Now you're healthy. It's yours. I don't think he's going to come off the field. I think we're going to have a bit of a quarterback conversation type of thing going, a little battle there going on. I really think we might have that going on. But anyway, I just want to say that the game day experience was the best I've seen in a long time. The energy was great. And I don't know how many wins we're going to get this year, but I do feel confident with Shane Beamer running the show. I really do, gentlemen.
Ray, outstanding. Thank you for the phone call.
Yep.
Thank you,
Smitty,
Ray.
you were there, and I watched the game, and that play Jordan Burch made was incredible. The athleticism of a guy his size to leap in the air and grasp that ball with two hands. And I'm not sure I've got the miles per hour correct, but I think I saw on Twitter they timed his run from interception to end zone. And as he was speeding up, running away from the defense, I think he topped like 20 miles per hour. The kid can move.
Absolutely. That's the athleticism that we had heard about. And look, for a lot of different reasons, last season was a wash for South Carolina. Will Muschamp was on his way out. We all knew that. You had the specter of COVID over the entire season, and a lot of programs just kind of went through the motions, and we didn't necessarily see who they were. I think what we did see on Saturday night is the future for South Carolina, which is the strength of that team, both in recruiting and now performance on the field, is that defensive line. So now can the rest of the team hold up its end of the bargain? Because I feel like guys like Birch and Pickens and others, Tonka Hemingway and countless others, I think they're going to hold up their end this season along that defensive line. And I did want to mention very quickly about the quarterback position. Shane Beamer on his conference call last night, he said he's not going to name a starting quarterback before Saturday. He said, why would I? I don't want East Carolina to know whether it's going to be Zeb Noland, Luke Doty, or even DeCarrion Joyner taking snaps. They will have to prepare for all three.
Different kind of speed coming up next. We recap the night of the Southern 500 in Darlington last night at Denny Hamlin winning at the Lady in Black.
There was just a lack of Black women, business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives. Growing up, I didn't see that. I figured out that I wanted to be a photographer for women of color. I found my niche and I'm sticking to it.
Each year, the South Carolina Education Lottery raises millions of dollars for scholarships and grants that help students prepare for their dream career, just like Kristen. Your passion is our purpose.
Relax on and off the field with Founders Federal Credit Union. With services like Founders Online and the Founders app, you'll enjoy all the perks of a big bank with local personalized service. If you're looking for low rates, look to Founders. Not a member? Joining Founders Federal Credit Union is easy. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our more than 30 office locations to see if you qualify for membership. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
All South Carolinians are now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccines. For help finding a vaccine location in your area, visit scdhec.gov/vaxlocator or call 1-866-365-8110. COVID-19 vaccines are free and don't require ID or insurance. Visit scdhec.gov/vaxlocator or call 1-866-365-8110 to find a vaccine location near you.
Hey, folks, don't forget, if you ever lose this over the air on one of our wonderful affiliates, you can always listen online at SportsTalkSC.com. You can see our lovely Labor Day faces if you log on to our YouTube page or Facebook. You can check us out there as well, streaming all the time. And, of course, if you miss any show or want to hear it back again, I encourage you to do so, always in podcast form and up on our website at SportsTalkSC.com, where yesterday we covered the race weekend, at least the back half. Missed the Xfinity race on Saturday with all the football, but there's nothing quite like racing live at Darlington, especially over Labor Day weekend of the Southern 500. It always delivers for the most part. Martin Truex back in the spring. That race turned into be a yawner, but not the case last night of Southern 500. Denny Hamlin, who had not won a race all season long, had been close. Led the points for much of the season, but he couldn't win a race. Now, that is off the table as he won last night, held off regular season champ Kyle Larson through the final couple of laps, including Larson trying to skirt the wall to get around him on the final, last quarter of a lap. And afterwards, Denny Hamlin, who now goes into the playoffs with a little more momentum after winning the first playoff race last night, talked to the media about his victory, his fourth at Darlington, and claiming another Southern 500 championship.
Well, I mean, this is a major for our sport. The Southern 500's obviously got a lot of history. It means a lot. And now to win, on top of that, you add, the first race of the playoffs. We get to go to the next round, first win of the year. It's certainly a very significant win in my career.
Congratulations, Denny. During the regular season, you had maintained all year that you guys were capable of getting to victory lane, but how frustrating was it not to be able to actually do it? And then how much of a relief was it to put it together at a critical time?
Yeah, I mean, we had so many opportunities earlier this year to win races, and we only really had the fastest car twice, and we understood that. But the 5 just went on a tear there, and for us, I mean, it certainly is significant. I'm not going to downplay the significance of it. It's not just another win. This one's big for us and our team and the momentum. We didn't have the playoff points that certainly we wish we had. Going into these playoffs, there was no room for error. And, now to punch our ticket to the next round, we get to go out there and focus on, get through that second round, which I think is probably the most dangerous.
And considering the next couple races, including Richmond next week, for you, does it kind of turn your playoff perspective on its head a little bit as your approach now?
I don't think it will change a whole lot for us. I mean, certainly from my standpoint, I think this allows me to really focus on getting ready for Roval. That's the one road course where, I just haven't had good finishes. I think my car's been tore all to pieces there just about every time I've run there. So to me, it's going to let me focus on the Roval, get more reps on it, and get better at it because, obviously that's a very important one in that next round.
Danny, conceivably, the next couple of races coming up, you could probably win the next 2 and sweep the first round. So, how important is that to be able to have so many strong tracks to kick off this part of the chase or the playoffs? I'm sorry.
It's good. I mean, when we look at this round, we knew that this is our wheelhouse of tracks. These are the ones that we're going to perform really good at statistically. I mean, yesterday's results, there's no guarantee today, but I knew that, I feel like I've got somewhat of a small advantage on the field at tracks like this where I've learned so much at this track over time. And honestly, I wanted to rack up more stage points. Now this is going to help us going into the next, round. We've got 6 more points than what we had before. So this is certainly a big help for that. And, we want to go to Richmond, win every stage and win that race too. That we're not going to take these next 2 weeks off. We want to keep this momentum going. That way, when we get to that treacherous round 2, we're ready and we're in playoff form.
And what did you think when you saw the 5 car in your rearview mirror make that move at the end?
Well, I was, this racetrack is very unique in the sense that you can go faster. You just got to get closer and closer to the wall. And my job the last run was just hold him at a 5-6 car length bay. That's all I wanted to do is I didn't need to go any further out than that. I didn't want to put my car at risk any more than I had to. So I just kind of maintained that 5 to 6 car lengths. Coming to the white, coming to the white, he got a great run off of 4. I didn't get that good of a run. He closed to 4 car lengths. And I'm like, still manageable. As long as I don't mess up, this thing is all still manageable. I should be fine. And then they said he got all the way to me, and I felt him bump me getting into turn 3. I'm like, where'd he come from? He must have did something crazy to drive in that deep. But it was cool that we were able to hold him off. But I'm sure it was very exciting from everyone else's standpoint. He said he had run out of options. He wanted to try it, and it nearly worked.
Denny Hamlin, the winner last night at Darlington of the Southern 500, he has punched his ticket into the second round of the NASCAR playoffs. But the biggest cheers of the night came when Kyle Busch had an early exit, actually smacked the outside wall in turn 2 after he got into a little dust-up with Austin Dillon. And he was so upset. If you didn't see it last night, he drove straight to the garage, ran over some cones. As soon as he got out of his car, place went nuts. Kyle Busch, universally loved, still in NASCAR. Zach Willis joins us next.
Here's tonight's forecast. Some overnight clouds, humid with a low dropping to 68 degrees. For tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds, about a 30% chance of some afternoon showers, a high of 90. Now for Wednesday, it's our best chance of rain, a high of 89, more humidity for you too. Enjoy your cookout today. It's back to work tomorrow. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Football is back. And this year, the Citadel is trying to be top dog.
Get in here! I got one thing to say. This is when the big dogs come out. Stay in the road. You can't run with the big dogs. Stay on the ball.
Touchdown, Bulldogs! Fire those cannons. The Bulldogs are back.
The Citadel Bulldogs, all season long on 100.7 The Point.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The resurgence of COVID-19 this summer and the national debate over vaccine requirements have created a fraught situation for the nation's first responders who are dying in larger numbers but pushing back against mandates. It's a stark contrast from the beginning of the vaccine rollout when first responders were prioritized for shots. The mandates affect tens of thousands of police officers, firefighters, and others on the front lines across the country, many of whom are spurning the vaccine. That is happening despite consequences that range from weekly testing to suspension to termination. The virus is now the leading cause of U.S. law enforcement line of duty deaths. There was no Wall Street numbers today because of the Labor Day holiday. This is SRN News.
Hi, Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
You ever notice there's a lot of foundation repair companies in the Midlands? Well, I asked my guys at TerraTech about this. Seems like 80% of the homes end up with foundation issues in the Midlands. It's just the soil around here. So how do you pick the right foundation company if you think you're having an issue? I always start by thinking local. I mean, think local always. Your home is your biggest financial investment. You want someone who's been here a while and isn't going anywhere for a while, and that's TerraTech. They're family-owned, they're AAA approved by the Better Business Bureau, and they are 100% local. They use the highest quality products, and they stand behind their work. And I'm not into scare tactics, no way. But goodness, this is your home. I mean, it's your castle. Walk around it. Take a look. If you see cracks in the foundation, just call TerraTech. They'll come out for free. No cost, no obligation. They'll tell you honestly if you have a problem or not. You can trust TerraTech to repair your home. You know I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. Online, it's TerraTechInc.com or call them 791-8888. That's 791-8888 or online at TerraTechInc.com.
Hi, honey. Were you able to drop by Tree Pharmacy today to pick up Mom's medications?
Yes, she sure is on a lot of meds.
I know. That's why I go over so often, to help make sure she's taking them correctly.
Well, I have great news. The pharmacist at True Pharmacy said he can pre-pack her medications into individual doses.
Wow. Knowing she's taking the right meds at the right time will give me great peace of mind. But how much does it cost?
That's the even better part. It's free. Just another great service they offer at True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Devine Street downtown.
Hey guys, Danny Brown here from the Richland County Sheriff's Department and Live PD. What's better than a great day of golf while supporting our military? AUSA's 33rd annual Willis Canty Memorial Golf Classic is September 17th here at Fort Jackson. If you're a small business owner with a strong appreciation for our military, sponsors are needed and start as low as $100. Call Mitch at 479-2448. Don't just talk the talk, walk the walk. Call 479-2448 and support our troops.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Well, since I was so rudely interrupted by the commercial break just a couple of moments ago, let me finish my story here on Kyle Busch. In case you weren't at the race, he was involved in an accident and drove his car straight to the garage, running over some road cones in the process, got out of his car. And as soon as he did, I think the biggest ovation of the night, Smitty, was for Kyle Busch being knocked out of the race. The guy is still universally hated in the sports, and I think that's great for NASCAR to have a heel like him.
I do too. Well deserved. He's really earned it too.
No question. No question. And he took his racing suit off. He already had that off in a T-shirt and shorts on as they were taking him to the infield care center. I think said a couple of things on television he should not have. So NASCAR probably take a little bit out of his paycheck. But nonetheless, that was some good stuff last night. All right, we go 1st and 10 with Zach Willis here in just a quick second. A couple of other news notes from over the weekend. Congrats to Furman quarterback Hamp Sisson. He's been named this week's Southern Conference Offensive Player of the Week. Told you earlier that the Paladins knocked off 24th ranked North Carolina A&T on Saturday. In the process, Sisson went 25 for 40 for a career high 362 yards and also 3 touchdowns. Real big win for Furman on Saturday. Meantime, and we can get into with Mick Mixon about this shortly, but former Gamecocks offensive lineman Dennis Daly is going to get to start this weekend as the Panthers take on the New York Jets. Matt Rule saying that right guard John Miller is out this week, according to Joe Person. All right, college football, the subject du jour tonight, as it is most nights here on Sports Talk, and time to check in with our coach as we go 1st and 10 with former Newberry College head football coach Zach Willis, who joins us tonight here on Labor Day. Zach, happy holidays, my friend. How you doing?
Doing great, guys. Hope you are too.
We are doing very, very well. Appreciate the time as always. We'll get to Clemson, Georgia in just a couple of moments because I figure we'll spend a little more time because of the nature of that ball game. But your thoughts about the Shane Beamer era opening up on Saturday with the shutout of Eastern Illinois?
Well, I mean, obviously they went out and did what they needed to do. Anytime you play an opponent that's that inferior to you, you need to go out and dominate them, and they absolutely did that. I don't think we learned, honestly, as a coach. I didn't learn a lot about them, what they were going to do. Just glad to see them go out and take care of business because, as we know, South Carolina has a history of underachieving and underwhelming some outmatched opponents in the past and even losing some of those games years ago. So I was happy to see that they took care of business and I think came out of it reasonably healthy. Looked like a good performance to me.
Don't want to put words in your mouth, but I got the sense last week when we chatted with you, you weren't overly impressed with the naming of Zeb Nolan as the quarterback for Saturday's game. After you watched his play on Saturday, did your opinion change of him any?
Well, it wasn't his ability. It was the fact that the programs and recruiting is in such disarray that you have to take a young man into the shot was at the recruiting and the, signing kids from FCS schools to SEC scholarships. And, I'm never going to be impressed by that. South Carolina joined the SEC to become elite. And at one time had achieved that. And Now they're going out. One year they signed a kid a couple years ago from Wingate, a transfer from Wingate. I was the head coach at Newberry, and we went 5-1 against those guys. So, and I was also a tight ends coach and graduate assistant at South Carolina and worked at Michigan State. So I kind of know the difference between Division II football and SEC and big-time Big Ten football with a Big Ten championship there. So it's more of a recruiting comment than it was on his ability. I thought he did an excellent job. He did everything he needed to do. I'm excited that Luke Doty is coming back because Luke Doty is a known commodity, but now we know that one of the two is going to back the other one up, and we've got some solid depth at that position for the Gamecocks, something the Tigers could have used Saturday night, I believe.
Absolutely. Zach Willis joining us here on Sports Talk. Zach, it's so good to talk with you again. Love picking your brain and hearing you talk football. I wanted to ask, so much we know about South Carolina and the positives. Still, I think there's lingering question marks about the wide receiver group. You just mentioned, recruiting at a high level. In South Carolina for a decade plus was they had NFL wide receivers coming in and out of the program. To me, it looks like there is still yet no one has grabbed that top receiver spot. What do you see from that group? And does anybody in your mind look most likely to emerge?
Well, I mean, or Trey Smith coming back, I think helps them. Losing Shi Smith is a huge loss. Obviously, a great, great football player. You see, here's the difference in recruiting. I know for a fact Clemson looked at Shi Smith as the number one under 6 foot wide receiver in the nation when they recruited him, and South Carolina won that recruiting battle over them. And I was told that by then Clemson wide receiver coach Jeff Scott, so people know where I get my information. He turned out to be a great player at South Carolina, and that's the kind of people you got to sign. I don't really see that out of these guys yet. East Carolina is a step up from Eastern Illinois. We'll learn a little bit more, but then when the Bulldogs come in, they roll in there and they've got to face those kinds of competition, those kind of people. We'll find out if the cream's going to rise to the top or what's going to happen, because that's the only way we can truly evaluate this team is when they get into conference play.
Zach, tell us a little bit more about what to expect from East Carolina. I was telling Smitty earlier, I'm somewhat surprised that line shifted over to where the Gamecocks are an underdog in Greenville. I don't know what they did on Saturday, nor what East Carolina did in a loss against Appalachian State that would lead you to believe that South Carolina would not be favored. So what are you seeing out of those two teams that may give Gamecock fans a little bit of worrisome thoughts heading up there on Saturday?
Well, I think, we had to go up there. We split when I'm in my time at Carolina. East Carolina was a tough out. We beat Georgia one year. They had Mike Bobo at quarterback, Edwards a great tailback, John Stitchcomb everything offensive tackle. We beat them with Deuce Staley running for a ton of yards on a Saturday night. We looked great. Everything was going our way. East Carolina rolled in the next week and beat the brakes off of us. We weren't ready for them, and they were waiting on us because a lot of those guys at that time, they were laying in the weeds saying we got passed over by the big SEC schools and we're going to show them they made a mistake. The next year we went to Dowdy-Ficklen, played great and won the ball game. But it's going to be a very tough ball game. Those guys in Las Vegas are very good at what they do. I'm not a betting man, never have been, but they know what they're doing. And coaches do look at the betting lines. I'm not going to tell you a lie. I know a lot of them that look at that because they see that we don't. Not to bet, but because they are that good at what they do. You watch their record. These people make money for a reason. They grow rich for a reason. They know where to set those points. It may be an injury that they're looking at. It could be a development within each program that they have a knowledge of. Hopefully not, because that means they're getting information they shouldn't be. But I just think this as a coach and not an odds maker, because I'm not good at it. Dowdy-Ficklen is a very tough place to win. It always has been for South Carolina. I think behind North Carolina and North Carolina State, East Carolina looks at the Gamecocks and really says, hey, we want to make them pay for not recruiting us. That's how they coach their kids. They've done a great job over the years, and it's a team that I look at as a potential trap game, but a winnable game if Carolina plays well.
First and 10 with Zach Willis here tonight on Sports Talk. Couple of more moments with the coach. All right, let's pivot to Georgia and Clemson. Overall, though, as a former college football coach, what did you enjoy the most about that football game?
The defense. I thought defensively and special teams, both teams were outstanding. Brent Venables was incredible with what he did. Their backs were to the wall all night long. So his defense, hands down on both sides, and the special teams, especially the punting for Clemson, was truly outstanding.
Yeah, Zach, you're right on about that. But obviously, most Clemson fans they have concerns about that offense. It won't show up over the next couple of weeks with their opponents they have lined up. But the next time they face someone like this, I wanted to ask you, would you consider more double tight end sets, finding some way to implement maybe 2 back sets, because it just seemed that DJ Uiagalelei was not able to set his feet very often, and Clemson is just not the kind of team that runs that schematically. Is that something they may need to implement for the future?
Well, here's what I saw. I went back and watched the game twice. As you know, I do that, Smitty, and I graded him, and here's what I saw. There were a lot of 3-step routes called, and he was pulling the ball down. When he hits his 3rd step, for the new listeners out there that haven't followed me, the ball's got to be gone. When that plant foot hits the ground, he can't pull it back. He did that on the pick 6. Justin Ross ran a slant route correctly. I don't know why they said he ran the wrong route. Maybe it was a cover job to help the young quarterback. I don't know. But if he throws it on the break, it's an easy catch. You never throw late over the middle on a 3-step game ever, and they paid for it, and that was a ball game. The difference was that pick 6. Both defenses held the offenses each to a field goal. But what happens, too, is the pass protection breaks down, because there's different pass protections for different drops. You have a 3, a 5, and a 7-step drop, and the protection differs for each drop. And he was pulling the 3-step game down. That accounted for 3 of the 7 sacks. Running back errors accounted for 2 more, and then they just gave up. He rolling out of the pocket when he didn't need to. There was no pocket awareness, and I go, we played great against Notre Dame last year. What was the difference? And I realized he didn't have a full stadium of people screaming and loud noise and pressure on him, and I think it rattled him, and we saw a different player because he was not in a practice environment, which basically all those games were. He was in a game environment, and that honestly, that was the difference in the game, was he got rattled and he never came out of it. And Clemson evidently doesn't have anybody behind that they believe can throw a 3-step game, because that's probably what they would have needed, along with playing Lynn J. Dixon earlier. I don't know if Dixon had a problem. He's clearly their best running back, clearly their best pass protector as well. And he wasn't in until the 4th quarter, when they finally moved the ball somewhat, and he had a good run or 2 here and there. But it's the 3-step game they've got to correct. Usually, guys, in these games, especially early, it's very simple things that are correctable, and I have full confidence they'll get better.
I'm sure that they will, Zach. And you mentioned Lynn J. Dixon. What about Clemson and that running game? I just looked over the numbers from Travis Etienne. He only carried the ball more than 19 times once in the last 2 seasons. Lynn J. Dixon missed some time, just carried it once. It does seem that maybe it's not in Clemson's offensive DNA right now to just turn around and hand it to a guy and keep, banging their head for that running game. Is that something they may need to develop to help DJ Uiagalelei?
Well, I certainly think so, and I think adding quarterback runs, he's a massive guy with good mobility. We saw him run it on Notre Dame and several other opponents, and Notre Dame is obviously a Final Four team last year, and he ran it on them really effectively. Honestly, I think he just needs to get his head right and settle down, calm. He reminds me a lot of Kirk Cousins when we were developing him at Michigan State, and I had to go in, and my job was not to coach him. It was to be basically his psychological coach, his guru, if nothing else. I stayed with him from Friday night on and met with him constantly until he got his confidence. And DJ needs his confidence. They need to run him a little bit. They're going to have to take a chance with that, because that's an extra defender in there, and they've got to play Lynn J. If Lynn J's out of the doghouse, and I don't want bash Dabo because I don't know what's going on with discipline, and I admire him if he's willing to take one on the chin if the young man disobeyed a rule. But if it's not, man, I don't know why he's not in there. He's a senior. These other kids have not played in that. Lynn J has, and Lynn J's played well. But they don't have a big banger either at back. And what I mean by a big banger is a 230-plus pound guy. You talking about turning around and just handing the ball to somebody. You know, they don't have that anymore right now, at least from the guys I saw the other night. And that could be a problem if you don't run Ungole, who is a big boy that could do exactly that for them. And we don't need touchdowns. We just need to keep defenses honest. So it's simple things that, honestly, I think Clemson's well aware of. They got through the game, and they just want to get themselves sorted out and now make a run. The best time to lose is first game of the year to a highly ranked opponent in a close loss if you're going to lose.
Zach Willis, 1st and 10 here on Sports Talk, kicking off a new week. Looking forward to the Gamecocks at East Carolina and also Clemson's home opener against South Carolina State this weekend. Coach, we appreciate the time as always. Enjoy the games upcoming, and we will catch back up with you next week.
Happy Labor Day, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Coach. Zach Willis. Smitty, I learned something from him every night he's on the show. That breakdown of the 3-step drop, I've never heard anybody break it down that well. And he's right. The Clemson coaches blamed that pick six not on DJ Uiagalelei. They blamed it on Justin Ross. But as Coach pointed out, I think that was probably maybe just to protect and shield DJ from some bad press.
Yep. You know what? He was under so much pressure, as Zach was just pointing out. He was not comfortable doing just what Zach mentioned he has to do, which is those 3-step drops, heel hits, get rid of the football. But Georgia's pressure limited his ability to do that. And I think he's probably going to get a lot better than that at that against South Carolina State, at Georgia Tech, and then on the road at NC State in the next 3 weeks.
All right, you got Ole Miss and Louisville about to kick it off. We get to see Matt Corral tonight. Maybe the best quarterback in the SEC returning from last season. So that'll wrap up the first weekend of the college football season. All right, quick timeout. When we come back, the NFL getting set to kick things off. And it is Monday Night with Mick. We will catch up with the radio play-by-play voice of the Carolina Panthers, Mick Mixon. He'll join us after this to put a bow on this Labor Day here on Sports Talk.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at experiencecolumbiasc.com.
We understand how important it is to have transportation you can rely on. So no matter what the road ahead brings, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
In Irmo, call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
Time to go around the horn quickly before we look forward to the NFL season debut this coming weekend. Around the Horn presented every night here on Sports Talk by Farm Bureau Insurance. Call Buddy Bridges in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174. Alex Satterfield in Columbia. These guys, perfect ways to handle all of your insurance needs. Alex's number, 803-749-9171. News out of the Braves camp today. Braves locked up another key player for next season, announcing a $20 million one-year deal for pitcher Charlie Morton. The contract includes a $20 million club option for 2023 with no buyout. The 37-year-old right-hander has been a stalwart of the rotation for their first-place Braves, going 13-5 with an ERA well below 4 in 28 starts. And, Smitty, you'll find this one interesting as your Dodgers try and keep pace and run these guys down. Concession workers at the San Francisco Giants Oracle Park on Saturday voted overwhelmingly to strike, citing concerns over COVID-19 safety and health coverage. According to Unite Here Local 2, at least 20 concession workers have contracted COVID since the stadium reopened this season. According to the union, 96.7% of active stadium workers voted to strike. And I'm guessing as a diehard Dodgers fan, anything that takes the focus away from the Giants be a good thing for you.
Obviously, the Giants have been cheating. They are. All you can do is give them credit. They beat Walker Buehler last night. The Giants, so that makes them about 87-50 on the year. Raise your hand if you saw that coming. So all I can do is give them credit. I mean, the Dodgers, my favorite team, we only spend $1 billion on everything, $300 million on a payroll, and can't beat the Giants. Got to give them credit.
And Around the Horn every night here on Sports Talk, brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Again, Alex Satterfield in Columbia handles your insurance needs in the Midlands, 803-749-9171. Meantime, Buddy Bridges in the upstate Lawrence County office at 864-923-2174. NFL season, it kicks off Thursday with the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Meantime, on Sunday at Bank of America Stadium, where they saw a dandy of a football game Saturday night, Panthers would try and duplicate that as they'll take on the New York Jets. And joining us now, the radio play-by-play voice of the Panthers, Mick Mixon, on the phone lines. Mick, happy Labor Day, my friend. How you doing?
I was in the upper deck today. I went on my little upper deck stadium stair run to try to keep old age away. And all these Clemson and Georgia pins and T-shirts and koozies and everything, man. What a college football game that was. And those fans left quite an impression on the stadium. And hopefully the reverse was also true. And condolences to Dabos and the Tigers only squeezing out 3 points against that Georgia. But I love old school scores like that, 10-3. I think North Carolina was 17-10, lost to Virginia Tech, so there's still good defense being played.
I thought you were going to say there were still Georgia and Clemson fans lying in the stands that you had to step over during your walk today.
Well, there was some of their gastric contents were left behind.
All right, moving on rapidly. How excited are you about the start of the season and the game on Sunday against the Jets?
I could take on Evander Holyfield in his prime. I could run down the field, cover a kickoff. I could bench press. I'm running up and down stairs. I'm carrying weight. I'm chopping wood. I just beyond fired up for this season. Aren't you guys? I mean, so many questions. Matt Rule's second team. This defense is fast, aggressive, turned up. Got a rookie quarterback coming in Sam Wilson. We got to punch this guy in the nose a couple of times.
And Mick, sometimes the NFL is like pro wrestling. Who made this schedule that Sam Darnold is facing the New York Jets?
Same person, probably the Crockett family, I'm guessing. same person that figured out that the Super Destroyer and Wahoo McDaniel should take on Dory and Terry Funk. I don't know, but it's going to be great theater. Plus, you've also got, not only do you have the Sam Darnold piece, but you've also got this. I don't know. I love little nuggets like this. So the Panthers signed a practice squad quarterback named James Morgan, who had a 42 on the Wonderlic. So he's a very smart. And he was drafted in the 4th round by the Jets last year. So don't try to tell me that there's not going to be any counterintelligence going on to try to pick his brain.
Mick, saw some news today about the offensive line that former Gamecock offensive lineman Dennis Daly is going to get the start at right guard in place of John Miller. What do you think about Daly filling in for Miller to go up against the Jets?
He looked good today at practice, Chris. And Coach Rule loves Dennis Daly. I mean, he loves all the players, but he has commented several times on just what a country-strong, uniquely powerful football player Dennis Daly is. Did you guys see it the same way when he was in Columbia?
I thought he was a man among boys on occasion. So, yeah, I'm thrilled to see him get an opportunity along that line. I think he'll fit in nicely.
Well, we need him. I mean, that's going to be the key. And it isn't as sexy, but NFL teams, unless you just got some Drew Brees, Tom Brady at quarterback slinging it around, and even they need the great O-line. But offensive line play is basically the foundation that you try to build your house on in the NFL.
Monday nights with Mick Mixon, the radio voice of the Carolina Panthers. They will take on the New York Jets coming up on Sunday to kick off the brand new season. Mick, appreciate the time. Best of luck to the Panthers this weekend. We'll be listening and look forward to chat with you next week.
Cornbluth's going to have a hard time getting his job back. Thanks, guys.
See you, pal. And that's going to do it for us, folks. Have a wonderful rest of your Labor Day. We'll see you back here tomorrow on Sports Talk.
The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. Rebuilding after Hurricane Ida. The Louisiana residents are being warned that fixing Ida's damage isn't